Do you know, that was hard because we witnessed a mother and daughter saying goodbye.
Oh gosh.
And they knew that they were never going to see each other again.
And when we had to take her out of the, when we had to...
And wheeling her out, oh.
Welcome to Health Chat, the UK's #1 health and social care podcast. We discuss the most important issues in the healthcare sector and the challenges our colleagues face from the front line of delivery to decision-making in the boardroom. Join me, your host, Asma Yunus, as we speak with interesting people from across health and social care and bring you expert insight and discussion on the topics that matter most to healthcare professionals. Hi everyone, welcome to Health Chat with me, your host Asma Yunus, and today I'm joined by the co-founders of Unity. Julie McEvoy is a district nurse and community specialist practitioner, and Ruth Taylor Thomas, paramedic with Northwest Ambulance Service. Thank you both for joining me. I'd like to start by getting to know a little bit more about you both. So if we can maybe talk about your career. Julie, if we start with you, just tell me a little bit about the work that you do.
My main job, my full-time job, is a district nursing sister. I'm a team leader. I qualified 3 years ago as a community specialist practitioner. So therefore, I deal a lot with sort of the complexities in district nursing, supporting a team of nurses, healthcare assistants and nurse associates. I have a lot to do with end-of-life care within the community because that is a big subject area that we cover, and I've got a lot of passion in end-of-life care. So what happened with Ruth and I, we actually met while we were working, and I'd gone to a patient, needed a paramedic, and the patient was unfortunately not well at all. He was dying, and between us, we got everything sorted, didn't we? Mm. And I realised that the equipment that she was using, the way we worked together, I thought, wow, I need that equipment, we need this in district nursing to help end of life. We just, all of a sudden, this light just come, and I just thought, gosh, we need this, I need this, why haven't we got it? Anyway, we got together, didn't we? And we met up, and then we've been inseparable ever since.
So I love that you figured out that, you had these kind of complementary skills that were coming together. Ruth, for you, because you're a paramedic, were you seeing that gap from your side, that actually the work you were doing ties in with what Julie does as a district nurse?
So I've worked for Northwest Ambulance Service for a lot of years now. I went from patient transport through to ambulance technician and then paramedic. And in that time, as Julie's already sort of stated, end-of-life care has been a real passion of mine. And I feel like we get it wrong. I feel like we could be doing it better. And then just as a coincidence, me and a couple of other paramedics had got together and we were trying to work out something that we could do to make it better, instead of just keep taking people that are dying into hospital and then they die on a corridor. They're not fulfilling their last wishes. They're not fulfilling the place that they want to be, how they want to die, what we class as a good death. It wasn't happening. And I felt like as an ambulance service, we weren't quite getting it right. But it's not really because of the ambulance service, because of the lack of resources. And then meeting Julie and seeing the things that she could offer and the things that I could offer were kind of the missing link between the two things, and combining the two of us and our skills and what we can bring to a patient's journey, we realised we've got something here and we needed to get together and we needed to have a chat about it, which we did. And then we came up with Unity.
Everything that you've said, I've kind of resonated with, because I've sadly had to go through a few end-of-life situations with friends and family over the last 12 months, actually. And every single one has said, do not let me die in hospital. Every single one. That's the one place they don't want to be when they know it's coming. And it's so hard to find that balance. And I wonder if that's the real issue with traditional, even palliative care, is it risky? Is that why doctors are a bit more hesitant, where it's safer to just go, do you know what? Maybe we need to bring them in just in case there's something we can do, and the family are going to get upset because we've not done everything we can. It's quite a fine balance, isn't it?
You're absolutely right there. And the way to kind of counteract that is to have the early conversations and be putting in place a last wish, a plan, because we, you know, as you'll probably understand, that during those last few weeks, last few days, that person probably no longer has capacity and can't make those decisions. Whereas if a plan is put in place prior to that, but it's really up to those doctors to start having those conversations. And I feel that they're very reluctant to talk about a DNAR, you know, a do not resuscitate form. That seems very reluctant to talk about. We have to have these conversations because we're not going to get it right. And then when the ambulance service, when we come out and there's a plan, a set plan with wishes and preferences, we can then challenge the doctors if they're wanting them to go in. And also, not just challenge the doctors, and making it sound like we're an enemy of a doctor. We're not. We're not. It's just sometimes the doctors have not got the full picture because they're not looking at what we're looking at.
Yeah.
And they don't know the situation at the hospital sometimes. And I just think with that plan right in front of us, that is what we can say, this is the patient's preference. When this was done, they had capacity. This is the family's.
I mean, there's many a time you'll ring me, won't you? And for instance, this is just an example of a patient. It wasn't yourself that rung me, actually. It was another paramedic who rung me. And he said, Julie, do you mind me ringing? It was a Saturday night, something like that, just a normal night. And I said, no, not at all. He said, I'm just with a patient now. He said, when I put him on a litre of oxygen, his saturation's come up and he seems quite okay. He feels a lot better. I said, all right, okay. I said, he said, but then as soon as I take him off it, he said he desaturates, his saturations, you know, they drop. So I said, right, I said, but he really wants to avoid going into hospital and I don't want to send him in, but he needs oxygen. So I said, right. Now, with my knowledge, I was a bit unsure what to do, but I thought, right, and this is part of my job role, is trying to solve every problem, trying to get an answer and doing everything you possibly can to have the best outcome. So I said to him, ring St. Catherine's to see if they can authorise some oxygen, or if he's with St. Catherine's, the patient, they can then guide you on how to maybe get some oxygen into the home. What happened was, and it was a learning curve for me, an on-call GP, because it was a Saturday night, an on-call GP from Go-To-Doc, they can authorise 2 litres of oxygen for end-of-life support. The oxygen team, they then get informed by St. Catherine's or by the doctor or by the on-call doctor, can you get oxygen sent out to this patient? And that's what we did. And the paramedic and me, St. Catherine's and the Go-To doctor prevented that gentleman from going into hospital, and he was put on 1 litre of oxygen and he was left comfortable, and that was fine. And that's the kind of, we want this interaction with everybody, because we can't make all the decisions. We're just a snippet of what's needed, but we need everybody, and we need, well, I don't know, we love it, don't we? Where if we can avoid a hospital admission
and provide that good death. You know, there's a lot of talking about assisted
dying. You know, that's fine, and it's whoever's, you know, that's everybody, it's their own opinions on that. But we want to assist the living before they die, and give them that peaceful understanding that everything's going to be all right, and that they've achieved everything that they wanted to.
Which is where the second part of what we do came into play, which was last wishes.
And the transfers that we do. And we've done so many transfers, and we've made so many people die easier, haven't we? I feel we have. I mean, we needed to do the research for that with Lancaster University. But it's not fact, it's not written, it's not researched, it's not. But we just, I mean, it's great for us, actually. We love it. We love it, don't we? And the things that we've done, the families we've been involved with, and when they thank you so much for what we've done, or they can't believe that they're actually being able to do this, and we're like, oh, this is where we should be, this is what we should be doing.
I loved, well, you sort of argued the fact that we don't have the research to back it up, but you got all this feedback from people. And I know that Unity, you call yourselves heart-led. And I love that. And it sounds like it's because you're so invested in how people feel and how they're experiencing things, which is so separate from the kind of medicinal care that they might need, or, you know, the tactical things that they will need to be alive and all that. You're taking the emotional and the practical and you're putting it together. And is that essentially how you started bridging out to do things like Last Wishes?
Yeah.
And I would love to know a little bit more about some of the work that you've done there, and maybe if you've got a patient story you can share with us.
Yeah, so in terms of the transfers that we do, and again, like you said, taking out the medicinal part and taking out all the, you know, all the clinical side of everything, we then, I mean, we still may need to do some clinical things while we're with the patient to make sure they get comfortable. And that's why we're called Unity, because we want everybody to be, even no matter how poorly you are, no matter what tubes you've got, what injections you need, everybody can have a nice death, and we can take you anywhere, regardless of what you've got.
That's why we found the combination of a paramedic and a nurse. It works so well, and nobody else is really doing that as a paramedic and a nurse.
And then our first journey.
So I
just
also,
by chance, wasn't it?
I also work for a private ambulance company, just doing events every now and then, and we had a phone call asking, do you think it would be possible, because our vision was to be able to provide these journeys and do things for people.
And I was in my car when I was just about to go into a patient's house.
Yeah, and I rang Julie and I went, listen, someone's just requested, can we get someone to a wedding? And I was like,
I said, when?
Yeah, let's do it. When? So I think it was like a week later, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was in about a week's time.
I was, absolutely, ring me later.
We're like, we'll do it.
Yeah.
So I approached the private ambulance company and I explained, this is, you know, what fully behind us. They were like, this is amazing. Absolutely. You can use our vehicle. We'll, you know, for your first journey, and that we'll donate it, you know.
Yeah. And the fuel.
And I'm like, insurance wise, I'm covered because that's the company I work for.
And
so
I'm also on their books as well for doing events and things. So I'm also insured. And
so we were like, oh, right, okay, we could make this happen. And every day we had to have a phone call with Christie's, because this lady, we didn't know if she was going to, day by day, we didn't know if she was going to survive.
Yeah.
Or it could change. And we were taking this lady from Christie's in Manchester to her son's wedding in Penrith.
Yeah, Penrith.
Penrith.
Yeah. And that was one of her last 3 wishes, wasn't it?
Yeah, she had 3 wishes, and that was one of her last 3.
Yeah, so what we did, and this is really funny how me and Ruth work. If you could see us physically how we work, it's so funny, isn't it? So we'll go to the ambulance and check it all over, but I just stand there like that and watch her do everything because I haven't got a clue. And then as soon as we walk into Christie's, Ruth takes a step back, and then I come forward and I take all the information, what we need to do, how we do it, what drugs she's had that day, and, you know, what we may need to do on transport and while we're there, and how many hours, and the pressure curve, making sure she's no pressure sores and with this and that. So then all of a sudden I take over, Ruth steps back, and then all of a sudden we just come together then, don't we?
Yeah.
And then we just... and then we did that, didn't we? And we got her.
Yeah, we got her there.
She was
amazing.
She was amazing. She was extremely poorly. She really was. And she's give us permission to talk about it. She's wrote it down in a letter to say, I give you permission, consent to talk about anything. We can say your name. We can say whatever. We're allowed.
We've got pictures on our Facebook site of her.
She's given us permission for everything. Yeah. And and we picked her up. And we got everything all together, and she was so excited. Her sister was with her and her best friend, and we all travelled together. And then we got to Penrith. We was greeted like we was walking on a red carpet. It was amazing.
All
Everybody
the family
was just outside.
Cheered, and there was just, as soon as we pulled up, they knew she was there. We'd done it.
Yeah, we'd done it, and we were crying, to be fair, because we do cry a lot.
We were like trying to hold it together, like it's not hard.
We didn't hold it together, we cried.
Yeah, we just cried.
Yeah, we cried. And then we got her out, and we got her into...
No, you've got the best bit. She got off the stretcher and walked out of the ambulance.
She walked.
She walked down the ramp.
She wanted to walk, didn't she?
Yeah, she wanted to walk, and she did.
We've got a video of it.
It's brilliant.
Not of her walking, but we've got a video of the thing. It's just amazing. And then we got her into the little house,
Yeah.
and then she was with the girls, and she went into the bedroom with her girls. They put some makeup on her, put a nice outfit on her.
Like we stepped away, so
We stepped away and left them to it.
It was like it should have been. That's how it should have been. That
we
day.
just made a brew, didn't we?
Yeah,
we had a brew. And then we met everybody, and it was fantastic. And then she walked down the aisle to go and sit in her seat, and everybody was clapping. Everybody was just amazed at her strength and her ability to be able to do what she did. And she lasted a few hours, didn't she? But we was like the MI5 on her, weren't we? We were just watching everything that she would have watching
well, subtly, it's not like
well, it's like. And Ruth's going, "Do you think she's all right? Do you think she's all right?" And I'm like, "Yeah. I'm just getting a bit tired now. I don't know." Right, no, we need to intervene. We need to intervene now. So we go over to her and we'd say,
because what we found was everyone kind of realised that, oh my goodness, this is going to be the last time we see her. So people were going over to her and they were hugging her, and the conversations were quite prolonged, and it was quite emotional. You could see she was getting emotional, and then she was taken outside for photographs. So we kind of followed outside, and when she was stood there, they'd done quite a lot of photographs. And I said to Julie, I said, she's wobbling. She's literally wobbling. So we came up behind her and just whispered. I said, "Are you done? Are you happy? And she went, "I can't do anymore."
Yeah, we said
can't do anymore. So we brought her inside.
We took her back to the bedroom, and she asked if we could go and get her immediate family. So we got her immediate family, her husband, a son, daughter-in-law, a set of daughters.
Yeah.
And they went in, and again, we were crying in the kitchen because all you could hear as them all was crying, and because she was saying to them, obviously, you know, I've done everything now that I need to. And then we got her back, didn't we?
We did.
And we even asked her, was there anywhere else you wanted to go on way back?
I'm okay.
And she went, "No, you have done everything for me. That is absolutely amazing." And she died 2 weeks later. So her 3 wishes were, she wanted to go to her son's wedding. She wanted to die after Christmas, which she did. She didn't want to be a memory before Christmas. And one of the interventions that she had on her, she didn't want that to interrupt her death. And she got all 3 wishes.
She did.
Yeah.
She was a strong lady.
And we just cried all the way back.
We did.
We couldn't believe we couldn't believe what we'd done.
No, we were like, we need to do this. Why is nobody doing this? We need to do this.
Well, yeah, we've done it.
We did it.
When you share that story, it is very hard not to feel emotional and connected, even though we weren't there. Like I wasn't there, but I can feel, or I can understand how much that would have meant to her family. Like it's a huge deal. And I feel like they do have similar things for children who are maybe going through, cancer treatments or other sort of very terminal illnesses, but there isn't anything for, like you said, this end of life situation. And I can imagine for you feeling that emotion, having that reaction, and knowing that you've helped someone with their final 3 wishes, that must have been for you the catalyst then that went, okay, we need to do this more. But in doing that, how hard is it for you to, setting this up, because you are set up as a charity, you already work full time, like there's a lot you've taken on here. How difficult is it to put something like this together?
So luckily, like I said, we had the ambulance donated for that first journey. There was no cost to the family, to the patient for that journey. We volunteered our time. But what we realised on the way back was we do need to do this, and we want to be able to do this. But the only way to be able to do it is we're going to need donations. We're going to need something behind us, because obviously running a vehicle, an ambulance, taking that off the road from being used on an event, the fuel, all these costs, the actual full running cost of an ambulance, we can't do out of our own pockets.
Yeah, it's far greater than what you think, isn't it?
It's a lot,
there's a lot of rules with ambulances,
with the
how they're
insurance
cleaned and how they're maintained and things like that. There's a lot
more than what we kind of thought. So we went back and we spoke to the private ambulance company and said, look, what would we need to do? They gave us a cost of, to go into the future. Look, we'll do it as little as we can. They've done what they can.
For us, massively.
For us.
Yeah.
So moving forward, we're kind of relying then on donations from people. And what we kind of say, we give a ballpark figure of what is our basic running cost at the least it can be, and then ask for a further donation that we can put towards the next journey.
Yeah.
So everything, we don't take any wage from it, we don't take any money from it. Everything that we receive will go to the next providing the next journey for somebody else.
Yeah.
In the long term, we'd really like our own vehicle.
A bespoke one, a nice one.
A really nice
lights, music, carpets, well, whatever. Nice seating, nice bedding.
Yeah. But
nice.
A really practical one. Because at the minute as well, what we're having to use, and like I said, we're very grateful for it, but we're using an ambulance, which is bright yellow, bright green, and it looks like an ambulance. And when we turned up at that beautiful wedding in that very posh venue, in a big yellow ambulance, it just didn't blend in very well.
No,
I mean, it went down well because the kids loved it. The kids loved it. They were
we
like,
got all them doing the lights and
so we made it into something more fun.
We did.
We've got a journey in a couple of weeks' time, and they're not happy because that's another wedding, and they don't want
the big ambulance.
They don't want that attention.
She texted us yesterday and said we didn't realise it would be a full medical ambulance. So
we've been talking a while now about we just need a vehicle that is everything we would need as a paramedic and as a nurse inside the vehicle, but on the outside.
We'd still have oxygen,
and so it would look, it'd be medical, but more comfortable. And on the outside, you wouldn't know what that was. We'd have our logo on it, and it wouldn't be ambulance. It'd just be a subtle
vehicle. Because I'm sick of you waving to our ambulances and police officers. Right. Gosh, she's driving down motorway and she's like this sort of time, and I'm like, why do you have to? Why are you waving?
Can I just say, the first time that Julie went in an ambulance, right, it wasn't me waving. She was like, why did you wave at them? I said, because of the police, and that's what we do. She was like, so every time. And I'm like,
not the
really? Yeah, I'm cool.
Yeah, but
I'm cool. She's like,
I mean, when I first sat in it, I was like, oh, please can I press the button? Please can I put the lights on? She was like, yeah, if you want to. I was like, oh my God, that is so cool. I was so excited with that. Yeah. But I'm used to it now.
Yeah, he's cool now.
I'm hardcore now.
So going forward, having our own vehicle would be wonderful if we could have that. Now that we're registered as a community interest company, we can do fundraising events now, which we couldn't really do before.
Yeah.
We've had so many people approach us and ask to donate. We couldn't take anything because we weren't registered.
But in terms of how we manage it all, to be honest with you, I think all these people are just looking over us because we seem to just be able to fit it in. We've got a job, we're doing one on Saturday, a transfer on Saturday. We're excited about that. We're going to make this man's last wish. He wants to go to the football. It's all sorted, all organised, and we're doing that on Sunday.
With the Spud Bros.
With the Spud Brothers on Saturday. And then, but we did have that wedding as well, but she doesn't want to go in an actual ambulance. We've tried to resource to see if we can get something from somewhere else, but we can't, can we? But how we fit it in is we might get a call or they'll just ring us and we'll take a call, whatever time of day it is.
Usually from the hospices themselves.
Yeah, it's usually from the hospices because we've been round to all the hospices in our area because we want to keep it localised. It's like a localised business, and they'll contact us and say, look, can you do this or can you do that? Can you pick somebody's mother up from Wolverhampton to bring her up to see her daughter at a hospice? So this patient was for living. They didn't have a DNAR. We would have had to have resourced if something happened to them. To be honest with you, they're in the best place. And then we got her to her daughter, didn't we?
Yeah, we drove to Wolverhampton in the morning.
We drove to Wolverhampton in the morning.
Back to Preston, to St Catherine's.
Because Mum had had a stroke, so she wasn't able to. And we got her into St Catherine's. She spent the day with her daughter. And you actually said, didn't you? You said, daughter looks absolutely fine, and I was like...
Out the two of them, it looked like Mum because Mum was the one in the bed. Daughter could get up and get in the chair, and she sat next to the bed with Mum in it.
Yeah. And so then we got her Mum back down to Wolverhampton, And then she died, didn't she? That was about a week after.
The daughter
wasn't it?
died a week later.
Yeah. You know,
And do you know, that was hard because we witnessed a mother and daughter saying goodbye.
oh gosh.
And they knew that they were never going to see
And when
each
we
other
had
again.
to take her out of the, when we had to,
And wheeling her out.
that was hard, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And when we got there, it was amazing. All the sons were there, the daughter-in-laws, the husband, the brother.
It was like a guard of honour when we walked in. All St. Cath's staff were all there because they were.
They filmed it. It's on St. Catherine. It's on St.
on the
Catherine's.
website.
It's on the website. Yeah. And the pictures and everything was wonderful. So in that scenario, it's not the fact that we'll just transfer the patient or the person that wants to be transferred. We'll bring people up to them if the other person is not able to get there. Because so this is can I talk about this really big trip that we did?
Yeah.
Another one, and we can talk about this because it's on our website and we have permission. A lady called Lisa, she was at Blackburn Hospice, 42-year-old lady, glioblastoma, which is brain tumour. And she was dying quite rapidly. Her mum had just had a kidney transplant at Manchester Royal Infirmary. So we was asked by the other daughter, who was also a nurse, if we would pick a mum up and bring her to see her daughter Lisa for the last time. And we jumped at the chance, didn't we? So we got to Manchester Hospital. They was a bit reluctant to pass her over because they didn't realise our skills. They just assumed, not in a bad way this, and it's rightly so because they've got to be concerned what's going on and who's picking them up, but they were a bit concerned that we were just like a taxi service, really, taking somebody to one place to another. But when we got there and we introduced ourselves, it put them at ease. Then they was very happy for her to come.
Because they were initially trying to stop.
They were initially trying to stop, but we said, don't worry, we've got a full equipped ambulance and she'll be absolutely fine, and we know exactly what we're doing. And then and we got her there. And what we did, when we got to the hospice, it was lovely. We come in, we was greeted by all the nurses and everything. And some of them I've worked with before as well in the community. And we took her mum, she was able to go in a wheelchair, so we took her into the room. And I'm used to seeing people in this state, unfortunately, not state, but in this condition. And the daughter was I knew she didn't have long to live, and I could tell straight away. So I was like, but Ruth, being a paramedic, first time seeing somebody like this who was
Not for treatment.
She wanted to jump on her and start tubing her. She was
honestly, it knocked me because if I see somebody that is breathing or looking in the way that Lisa did,
struggling to breathe, then
I'm there to do something about it, not to stand and do nothing.
Yeah.
So everything in me was like, I had to get. Are we not giving her oxygen? I'm like, Julie, she needs oxygen. Are you not bringing somebody?
Is somebody?
And she's like,
stop. I went. I got hold of her hand and I went,
stop. Right. And I'm like, Julie, and she's like, stop. We'll talk in a minute.
Talk in a minute, yeah.
In a minute.
So we got.
I was struggling.
She went, that is not right. You can't let. And I said,
out of the room. I said that bit.
Yes, out of the room in the dining area where it was, the kitchenette or whatever.
I was up there. I was like, they can't leave her like that. I don't understand. Why are they not doing something? I was gone, wasn't I?
This is what happens, Ruth. This lady will be comfortable. Don't worry. But she's not. And I said, no, honestly. I said, it's fine. But as soon as she heard her mum's voice, she went,
and reached out.
Her arms out. Oh my gosh. And then, I get quite upset at that one for some reason. So I can't talk at the minute. But then what happened after that?
Yeah, so they said, how long can she have? And we said, she can have as long as she wants. She can stay there. We'll take her back at whatever time she wants.
Oh,
I know,
yeah. She's only 42.
So we just sat and we just waited, and I learned a few lessons. Julie taught me a little bit because I was like, well, why is she breathing like that? Because like I said, if I see that, I'm doing something. So I don't just look at a patient and watch that. So it was a big lesson for me.
Yeah.
So anyway, they told us that she was ready to go. Mum was ready to go home. So again, we went back in, put her on the stretcher. Another moment of Oh God, we're watching them say goodbye to each other. I mean,
Touching hands and all. I
yeah,
remember them touching
Lisa
hands
was
and
so, she wasn't really responding properly.
But she knew her mum
But
was
she
there.
knew, she knew her mum was there. And then we took her out, we took her back to the hospital. And then as we drove back from Manchester, back to the base where the ambulance is, we drove, literally parked up, and my phone went off. And I looked at the text message and it said, Lisa's just passed away. Thank you for everything you've done.
We did it just in the right time, didn't we? We
Yeah,
did it.
it's
just
like
in
she
the right
waited for her mum.
We saw you get a bit emotional, and I don't want to put you back into that
No, it's
position
fine.
again. But do you think that because we don't really, as a, we're British, we're very we don't talk about certain things, and death isn't something we talk about. And I think that's why the assisted dying thing became such a huge deal, because that was something, again, that people just didn't talk about. But this is, at some point in reality, most of us will go through this, right? At some point in our life, end of life is a thing that we all have to deal with, either someone we know, ourselves, whatever it might be. And it isn't a topic of conversation. Do you think that that needs to open up a bit more? We need to be a bit more open, not just from a personal family side, but also when we are having, does it help people who've got someone in palliative care to then have those conversations with their clinicians, with their doctors? Do you think there has to be that open chat about dying?
Obviously, within the NHS, there is palliative care teams. They've got community nurse specialists that will go out to a lot of families who are unfortunately dying. So that is, from my point of view as a community nurse, me and our teams, we have a lot of interaction with your local hospice, which is absolutely amazing, which is obviously St. Catherine's. And we try our best to make, from a clinical side, to make sure that everything's managed for that patient, and that they do have a good death. But I think really our teams are also taught to, have them conversations. Don't be scared about having those conversations. But every family's different, every person's different, and you sort of need that ability to assess the situation before you can bring it up. There's been many occasions I wouldn't dare ask, would you like to be a tissue donor? Because to me, straight away, that means, right, I'm dying because they're asking for my tissue or my organs or anything like that. Whereas when my children were at school, they was asked, would you like to donate your organs and your tissue? And my son and daughter said, yeah, they would. At 6, I don't know what age it is, because they do it now at schools, don't they? So then it's not classed as a hard question. But when you're in a circumstance where somebody's dying, sometimes they think, well, you're asking me that because how long have I got then? And they sort of take it into that account. I think there's a lot of education that is needed at the paramedic side. Yeah. I'm not saying we're fantastic at it, but I think we're a lot more advanced.
We're a jack of all trades, aren't we, though?
You are. You are.
We're a bit of everything. We have to know a bit about everything.
You mentioned that we went into how you're doing this whilst you're working full time, and you do know the basic costs, and you're trying to raise that money as a CIC. But I think, we want people to know that you really don't take a penny from this. And how hard is it now that you're starting to gain popularity? And you said you're quite local. So I'm assuming as people see this, that we're going to want to see models like this popping up, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get other people in your positions that are maybe thinking of doing similar things. But for you now, getting this off the ground, helping to get to those inquiries of people wanting to do stuff coming in, how hard has that been, sort of raising the funds and being able to practice this passion that you have?
So for us now that we are registered as a CIC, this year is going to be quite big for us, because we can start doing events, sponsoring. Hopefully people do a fun run for us, donate the money to us.
There was another company, wasn't there, that wanted to make us the charity of the year.
Oh yeah.
But we said we can't,
because we're not.
Yeah, we couldn't accept that.
So we've had quite a few of those.
Yeah.
And all we've had is we've got a GoFundMe page at the minute, which we've got on our Facebook page. There is a link on there, so people can donate at the minute for us. And that is the reason that we were able to start in the first place. So keeping that going is a big thing for us.
Yeah.
But like I said, now that we're a community interest company, we can start doing sponsored events, fundraising.
Yeah, we can do all
and
that.
That's the
And just
plan,
in Lancashire really as well, because we're not, we're starting it off in our area where we live. We're local, and we don't, we live here in Preston, and it's not just for Preston, but like Blackburn,
surrounding areas,
Wigan,
aren't we? Yeah.
all the local areas, and that's what we want to focus on. If it goes bigger in the future, so be it.
Yeah.
But
we hope it does. We hope other people go, well, we could do that, because we're not a business where we're trying to say, well, we want to get all the we want the money. We want people to do this because
we'll
it
collaborate
should be
with
being
people,
done.
won't we? We'll collaborate with others. We'll get together with other teams, because
St Catherine's is a big supporter for us at Lostock Hall at Preston. We've got Trinity
Hospice,
Hospice at Blackpool Trinity.
Yeah, and then we've got St John's.
Yeah,
we've got St John's at
St John's at Lancaster, Trinity, St Cass, Blackburn,
and they've offered us like free training and things like that, which
they're
eventually
so behind us, aren't they?
If we get teams and things like that, we want to make sure people do have appropriate training as well, and it's how to have difficult conversations, how to talk about bereavement, how to talk about death, how to, that comes natural in my job because I've learned that along the way. But for somebody like yourself or the paramedics, it's not always that easy.
No.
And, with the young uns now coming into healthcare, we've got life experience, which is good. We've written it, we've done it, we've what have you, wore the T-shirt. But, we would help people with that. Come with us, come and see what we do. There's loads of people that want to come with us to see what we do. There's so many volunteers who want to just get involved because they just think it's so wonderful. And I think eventually, I think we're just going to make we've already made a difference, but we'll make a massive difference, won't we?
Yeah, and our long-term goal is we would like to be like a hospice at home. We want to
care for them as well.
The care side,
and
as well as the journey.
We spoke to St Catherine's about that, just doing specialised end-of-life care. That's my baby.
That's her baby. And the journeys will just be part of that.
It'll be an extension of
it. Whereas our main focus is to become a...
And then I'd like a big respite centre.
Don't have to watch, do you?
No.
I'd like a big respite centre where people... Because a lot of families as well, like your hospice, they can't provide just respite because they're absolutely to capacity sometimes. They can't just provide respite.
No.
And some families just need a bit of a break. And this is another thing we want to help. We want to help the NHS get people out of hospital who need to go into hospices or homes and to ring the ambulance service or whatever, because everything's just tight at the minute. We'd love to be that crisis where you just ring us up and we'll just get them out. So my mum, I needed to get her out. I rang Ruth. Ruth, please can you come and get me mum? Get the ambulance, get me mum. Absolutely. She was there within 5 minutes. And the distress that my mum was under in hospital, even though she'd got delirium and her kidneys were failing, her feet had started going, her feet started going blue and her fingertips had started going blue. Now, when I see that, I know somebody's not got long to live. So I was in a panic, I was in a rush. We got her home, and because she was at home with her family, her feet and her fingertips went back pink. Now, I've never seen that with a patient, so when the community nurse specialist come out from St Catherine's, I said to her, how has that happened? She said, because she's so comfortable now, she's at home. So that is proof to me, not through being told, through my own personal proof, that no matter what, if anybody's not conscious or they're dying or what have you, you still make a difference to that person, and it's still extremely important. And that is what I've learned from that.
Like I'm surrounded, unfortunately, I see a lot of death in the job that I do, and I see it how I wouldn't want it to be for my family. I see that too much, and doing this has made me see how it could be, and how I want it to be, and what's possible. So I think that's the biggest thing that I would take away from this.
Yeah,
it's been such a pleasure hearing your story and just hearing the stories of the work that you do. You're both incredibly special people. I have every faith that you are going to make this a success. And we will make sure that we put the links to your charity and the work that you do and how people can donate. It will be in the description below, so make sure you check it out. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe. You can also follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. If you've got any questions, feedback, or want to know more about the work that we do, you'll find our details in the description below. Thank you again for watching or listening. We are Health Compliance. We work with new and existing healthcare providers every single day, from private clinics to adult social care services and NHS trusts, to ensure all providers are compliant with regulations, have a culture of excellence, and are delivering exceptional care.